Hey, I just wanted to do a short video, mostly completely unscripted, in regards to sort of mental health and like the situation with the NHS here in Britain. I probably won't be able to go into too much detail about it because I don't really know like the whole extent of things. Like I did look at it a little bit, and also this is more kind of sort of a personal sort of experience with it, but not just with my experience, but also with experiences that someone who is very close to me has had with the NHS Mental Health services. Basically, with my own personal experiences have been quite good when it comes to like the mental health services. Although I think the service that I went through and that I used wasn't actually NHS funded. I think it was private. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But on the other hand, with my friend, she is going through the NHS services, and to say the least, like the experience she has had with it has been very poor. Like, just for example, sorry, I've kind of got a few little notes that I've written down, but for example, with recently, her experience with mental health has been quite bad and quite severe. I don't really want to go into too much detail about it because obviously it's not really my place to talk about it. I've already told her that I was doing this video and she did support me on it, and she did say do it. It kind of needs to be done. So I don't know how much she really wants me to talk about it with her experience, but to kind of sum it up, a lot of it's been quite severe with her, and her experience with sort of like how the NHS has treated her has not been that great at all. She's been hospitalised a couple of times. Since the start of the new year, I think she's been to the hospital 4 or 5 times, maybe a bit more than that. I don't really want to keep count, if you know what I mean. But each time she's just been let out without really, like, I think she's told me they haven't really given her a psych evaluation to see if she's okay. She's made it clear to them that she is not feeling okay, and if she has the chance, she will do it again. And they've just disregarded that and just let her go. Last month, she did have a very serious incident in which that she was very lucky to come out of it alive. And when she was in hospital, she was in absolute agony. And when they let her out the day after she tried this, this incident happened, and they just let her walk away. They just literally, it happened, and then a day later they let her out of the hospital, and she has warned her doctors, and she's told her doctors she doesn't feel safe to herself, and she doesn't feel that she doesn't know what she's thinking. She doesn't feel like she's in control of herself. She's lost all respect for herself, for the fact that she kind of, I don't really know how to describe it, but she just, let's just say, just to put it up simply, it is very severe. And what the NHS is doing for her, they're not doing really anything for her. I mean, after one incident, she got a crisis team out to her house, and she was there with her boyfriend, so I can have him, from what I've been told with her and with her boyfriend, how the crisis team treated her was appalling. I wasn't there to witness it personally, but what they both told me, because they were both there, it was absolutely appalling the way they treated her. They almost seemed to put the blame on her for what had happened, when it wasn't. It was her mental state at the time. So, and it's like the way they were speaking and like the sort of attitude they had towards her, it was, I told her, like, they shouldn't treat you like that. They should be there to help you, not make you feel worse, because she told me after they left, she felt even worse than when they were there. I mean, the crisis team, they're supposed to be there to help you and to, like, advise you and give you advice, give you advice on, like, what you can do and, like, what help you can get, but they didn't do any of that. They just, threw around accusations and made comments which made her and her partner feel uncomfortable. And personally, I just don't think it's right at all. And it's just, like, with the NHS Mental Health Services as a whole, obviously they're there to help people, but you'll be hard-pressed to even get any kind of help with the extremely long waiting lists that they have. I mean, I can understand that it is in high demand, but at the same time, they're not really putting anything in place to support those who are on the waiting lists for these services. Like, my friend, same friend that I've been talking about this time, she was put onto 2 different waiting lists for 2 different services through the NHS. One of them was a 40-week waiting list, which I vaguely worked out that she would be waiting until October to see anyone, and the other one was about 10 weeks. And even then, that's especially for people who are in such severe mental darkness, because I can't really think of anything really to say, like, people in such a terrible place, even 10 weeks is just too long to wait. So I just think, like I said, I can understand that it is in high demand, but there has to be something in place to support these people who are on the waiting lists. And luckily for my friend now, she's got medication, she's had a diagnosis for something, and recently she's, although she has had, like, a few slips, she's, like, felt unsafe with herself, so she's gone to see her partner. But since the last incident, I don't think there's been another one since, and she's on this medication, and she's finally got through private help, which she literally within requesting an appointment, she got one within, like, a week or 2 or something like that. But even then, it's still quite expensive, especially for, like, uni students. Luckily, she's got someone who's willing to pay for her, but a lot of people don't have that sort of ability to be able to pay for these services, because private services are expensive. I mean, I've looked up for someone else, actually, I was looking up, like, different sort of services. Most of them are private, and, like, they could range between £20 to £100 just for one session, which is just ridiculous. I mean, people of my age group, especially if you're not working, which is quite common as well, people just don't have that kind of money to be able to put onto this. Like, there's more important things. I mean, yeah, mental health is very important, but, like, a lot of people, they need that money to be able to pay their bills, to look after their family, to buy food, to heat their homes. And, like, you can't, like, they get that sort of option. Do I pay for private mental health services, or do I look after my family with that money? And most of the time, pretty much all of the time, people will put that on what is more important, which is looking after their family, heating their homes, being able to eat. And, like, with the services, this government, at this current point in time, the Conservative government, they've said that they are going to put more money into NHS services to try and improve them. But with the state that the NHS is in at the moment, and it's just getting worse, they haven't put, from what I can tell from what I looked up, they haven't put money into the NHS mental health services. They've actually cut funding to it. Not completely, but they have cut funding to it as opposed to putting money into it like they said they would, which is unfair, really. I mean, they've cut funding to the NHS as a whole, and just the NHS as a whole is in a really bad position at the moment, because my mum knows someone that works as a nurse, and some of the things that she sort of, like, she can't go into detail, she can't really technically tell us about it at all, but she has mentioned a couple of things, like how busy things are, the lack of beds, and I mean, I think it was like last week or the week before that, in my local hospital, just up north of the city, there was 16 ambulances outside the hospital because there was physically no beds in the hospital whatsoever. And that's just the NHS as a whole. It's like it is terrible. I mean, there's long waiting times and all across the board. I mean, even just to see a GP. Today I had to make a GP appointment. I called up yesterday and they said they haven't got any appointments on the screen. So I called back today, and the closest appointment I could get for the GP that I needed to see was the 30th of March. I took it because I didn't really have much of a choice, and I kind of need to see him. But even then, that's a very long time. I mean, if it's something severe, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've kind of gone off a little bit topic here. That's why I was a bit worried about doing this unscripted, because I have a habit of going off onto a tangent. But to get back onto the point with the mental health services, I think I've probably gone over everything that I really wanted to say, other than, as well as like the cuts. It keeps coming up recently, like in like weeks. It literally frequently keeps coming up in the fact that the amount of people that attempt suicide because they are on these waiting lists and they have no support while they're on these waiting lists, it's ridiculous. And the amount of people that attempt suicide while on these lists go into the thousands. And this is how serious it is. It's not just like one or two or a couple of hundred. It's thousands of over 1,000 people that are attempting suicide. A lot of time being successful in this, that while they're waiting because they have no support. I mean, it's the same with the case of my friend. The amount of it's just something that's kind of hits me very hard, not only because of my own experience of mental health. I mean, I've never gotten that bad to the point where I've considered that, but I have been in a very bad mental place, as I've mentioned before. But it's more now, it's kind of personal for me, because it is a very close friend of mine and she means a lot to me, and just to see her in sort of the state that she's in and sort of the problems that she goes through and the things she says to me at times, it just hits me really hard, because there's not much I can really do to help her other than just to be there, support her, and just that's all I can do for her. And it just hurts a lot when she's in this terrible place and she's genuinely serious about what she's saying, and it just scares me and worries me that you never know when the next incident might be a success and someone very important to you will no longer be there. And that prospect just terrifies me, because I know she's been through a lot in her life, and especially recent like the past year alone, she has been through an awful lot, and it's been really hard for her. And I know you're watching this because you told me to do it, so I just want to say you and anyone else who is watching this who is going through this sort of problems with mental health and thoughts of suicide, there are people there who love you, and I mean this, but there are people there who love and care for you, and they don't want to see you going through this, and they want to help you. You just have to reach out and ask for that help. Yeah, I think that's probably the best place to end it now. Just to say that to everyone out there who is or might be watching, who this means a lot, do find help and hang in there, because at the end of the day it will be worth it, and there are people who will support you no matter what, and you just have to find those people. And to you, my friend who I am, I did say I was going to do this for. I know you're watching this and you'll demand the first view. You're honestly one of my best friends, probably one of my closest friends at this point of time, and it hurts me to see you like this, and I want to be able to help you more than I have done, and I know I can't, but just know that you are actually one of the most important people in my life at this point of time, and I hope you will be for a lot of years to come. So I think this probably went a little bit over, so I'll end that there. I should be putting out another video next week. I will put my link for my Tumblr in the description like normal. Goodbye.